So, here we are. I'm Jay Weidner. We're Smoke and Mirrors Radio Hour. We're talking to Pedram Shojai, and we're talking about Shaolin tradition. We're talking about Qigong and his new video series, The Alchemy of Qigong, which is the most comprehensive video series ever made on Qigong, I do believe. So, Pedram, the Buddha, everyone thinks that the Buddha taught compassion, which he did. So how do you reconcile this idea of Buddhist compassion with these guys like Bruce Lee who can kick anybody's ass in?
Well, first of all, I don't know if Bruce Lee's the best living embodiment of Buddhism. He was a showman, and he was, he was an actor who was probably doing a lot of drugs. But your point well taken. Yeah, how do you take the bruisers with the guys that turn the other cheek and reconcile that deal? What happened was you have the Dharma, you have the. I think this has been a really, it's a controversial issue in my opinion because good people have been taught to stay docile and become weak. And so what happens is, if I am a good person and I have the morality and the ethics of someone who is here to help, someone who's kind, and I observe some form of atrocity that is happening in front of me, say a kid is being beaten by a parent or something obviously much worse, and there's a rape or something going on in front of me, and I think, wow, that's a really horrible thing that's happening in front of me, but violence is wrong, so I'm going to stand back here and let this atrocity happen. So really, what I've done is helped because of my complacency allow this meme, this viral demon of anger or hate or sexual abuse or whatever it is that I'm observing live to perpetuate. It's the same thing as you would say, I've caught this bug and I have a really terrible cough, but because of my philosophy of nonviolence, I'm not going to attack and kill the bacteria. What happens is I end up dying, right? And so I think that what happened was there was a real degree of realpolitik that got infused into this Shaolin tradition that basically said we can't let the bad guys have their way, because what happens is the bad guys are the ones that are always stressed out and doing the nasty stuff. Good people go home, they go to their families, they kiss their children, they hang out, they read a book, they go to sleep. Bad people are out there trying to get your stuff and abuse you and your own, because they have they're restless. They have this fire of real kind of pathological urges that are driving them to do bad things. Now, what do we do to protect ourselves from that? And in the old days, your martial arts is all you had. You can't call the cops and have the sirens blazing and have 911 there in a few minutes. You're out in some village and some bad guys come in and they want to take your stuff and kill you. So, we come from this really kind of confused notion about what reality is really about. I think a lot of this comes from maybe the hippie movement in the 60s and 70s in America. It's really easy to preach nonviolence and all these things from within the center of Rome. When you're at the heart of the empire and you have all the might and all the power, you can talk about all that. But when you're actually living in the jungle, you come face to face with a saber-toothed tiger in the old days, or you come face to face with some wild animal in the woods even today, all that stuff goes out the window, and all of your instinct and all your will to live comes back. So they really tapped into that thing called life, that primal connection with nature and that connection with survival that comes with our species, and then they use that to become the agent of the Dharma, use that to become the basis of an order that upholds the rule of good. And, they're not out there waging Shaolin wars. They're out there protecting the innocent from people who were. And then, later on the history got a little complicated because there were renegade monks once, the Western powers and different dynasties took over, and certain monks would take sides because of political matters. And the abbots were always insistent on keeping the order neutral. And then, you have what happens when politics and religion kind of come face to face. Religion always becomes the handmaiden of the politicians, because that's where the control of minds really originates. And so again, we go full circle to your assertion that, why did these guys think Mao was such a great philosopher? It was A, it's because they agree with him, which is a scary thought, but but B, because Mao understood. He said, look, these guys can't preach liberation and have us basically be, the only game in town, so we need to get rid of these guys. We're the only show in town. Do as you're told, you end up in one of those trenches, and you're just a statistic, you're just a number. So the machine that Mao created, the machine that's now devouring our world, is one that really doesn't, that really takes the value of the state, the value of the goals of the state, to be far higher than the value of an individual human life. And in that, it's created these monsters, these economic monsters that have really taken us away from our humanity. I think that's the biggest danger in letting these systems run unchecked, is, the essential unit is the human spirit, the human heart, this wonderful being that's looking into itself to find enlightenment and to become one with our creative principle, right? And these systems are very much designed to pull us away from that and just look at our TVs and say, wow, I really want that jet ski that's going to get me some chicks, or whatever it is that people are being leveraged by. Mm-hmm. And so, I think Mao is a genius in that, right? But anyone who agrees with him in that way, I think, is part of a different team.
Well, yeah, and I'm worried about that happening here. I really am. I'm dreadfully worried about it, and I don't know really how to stop it. One of the things that I talk about a lot on this show is they're called the feminization of men that's going on in America right now. And it's not just the chemicals, but it's the way that society is suppressing the masculine side of the world now, and men are becoming more and more wimpy, and people wonder why this is going on, and my answer is, well, I guess basically to prevent a revolution, because if you don't have anybody who's strong and willing to stand up, as the Shaolin people were, you're going to get run over, and that's what's going on right now, and it's very terrifying. It's one of the reasons why if you have a kid, a son, and he's causing you a lot of problems, it may not be his fault. That's in some ways the natural way that a male is. I would send him to a Qigong class, or a Kung Fu class, or a meditation class. I think it's a great way to handle that masculine energy and let it find its way. Anyway, I'm Jay Weidner. We're going to come back for our last segment and talking to Pedram Shojai about all of this great stuff, and I'll be right back. Thanks for listening.